Robb Stark is one of the most compelling characters in Game of Thrones, representing the complex nature of leadership, honor, and loyalty. As the eldest son of Eddard and Catelyn Stark, Robb was born with a weight of responsibility on his shoulders. From the beginning, we see him as a young man who embodies the honor and integrity of House Stark. When we first meet Robb, he's poised, level-headed, and ready to step into his role as Lord of Winterfell if the need arises. As events unfold, particularly after his father's death, we watch Robb transform from a dutiful son into the king in the North, a leader and symbol of hope for the North's independence from the Iron Throne. Robb's personality is shaped by his father's principles. He's deeply honorable, much like Ned, and his sense of loyalty to his family and bannermen is unmatched. However, these very traits that make him noble also lead to some of his biggest downfalls. And his story is ultimately one of great promise turned tragic due to mistakes that stem from a combination of love, honor, and inexperience in political intrigue. Robb's story truly takes flight after the death of Ned Stark. His father's execution by the Lannisters sparks Robb's decision to rally the North in rebellion, leading his bannermen against the Iron Throne in what becomes known as the War of the Five Kings. In a bold move, he's crowned king in the North, restoring a title that hasn't been used since before the Targaryen conquest. Robb proves to be a military genius early on. His victories against the Lannisters are nothing short of impressive, particularly the Battle of Oxcross and his ambush at Whispering Wood, where he captures Jaime Lannister. Robb demonstrates not only tactical brilliance, but also the ability to inspire fierce loyalty from his men. His leadership style contrasts sharply with the Lannisters, especially Joffrey, whose cruelty alienates those around him. Robb, on the other hand, gains respect through honor and courage. But even with his battlefield successes, Robb's inexperience in politics becomes his Achilles heel. While he's able to win battles, he struggles to navigate the complex web of alliances and betrayals that define the politics of Westeros. His inability to fully understand or value the importance of these alliances, particularly his agreement with House Frey, becomes one of his greatest downfalls. Where characters like Tywin Lannister excel in manipulation and ruthlessness, Robb's rigid sense of honor leads to mistakes that cost him dearly. One of the central themes in Robb's storyline is the conflict between honor and practicality. Like his father, Robb is driven by a deep sense of honor, but this trait, while admirable, becomes a double-edged sword when he breaks his betrothal to a Frey daughter in favor of marrying for love. His decision shows his commitment to personal honor and desire to stay true to himself. However, it also reveals his naivety about the political consequences of such a move. Robb's execution of Rickard Karstark is another example of how his strict adherence to Stark honor backfires. Karstark, a loyal bannerman, is executed by Robb after he kills 2 Lannister prisoners in a fit of rage. Although Robb is justified in his actions from a moral standpoint, his decision causes Karstark's forces to desert him, weakening his army significantly. This is a key turning point in Robb's campaign. His commitment to doing what he believes is right, no matter the cost, is reminiscent of Ned Stark. But as we saw with Ned, honor alone is often not enough to survive in Westeros. Robb's honorable nature is both a strength and a weakness. While it earns him the admiration of his soldiers and family, it also makes him vulnerable in the cutthroat world of Westerosi politics, where pragmatism often wins over righteousness. One of Robb Stark's defining choices is his decision to marry Talisa Magear, whom he falls in love with during the war. This is a crucial moment in Robb's story, because it represents the intersection of his personal desires and his responsibilities as a king. By marrying Talisa, Robb breaks his oath to Walder Frey, who had offered one of his daughters in marriage to secure an alliance with House Stark. This is a fatal mistake. The marriage itself is a reflection of Robb's character. He chooses love over duty. He follows his heart, but in doing so, he ignores the political consequences of breaking his oath. This decision enrages Walder Frey, a man not known for forgiveness. It's this broken promise that sets the stage for the Red Wedding, the most infamous betrayal in the series. In the world of Westeros, personal choices often have devastating political ramifications, and Robb's romantic decision is no exception. It serves as a reminder that even the most honorable of characters can be undone by love. And in Robb's case, the consequences of choosing personal happiness over duty are catastrophic. The Red Wedding is one of the most shocking and devastating moments in Game of Thrones. Robb, his mother Catelyn, his wife Talisa, and many of his bannermen are brutally murdered by the Freys and Boltons during what was supposed to be a celebration. The massacre is not only a betrayal of guest right, one of the most sacred customs in Westeros, but also a devastating blow to the Northern Rebellion. Robb's death is particularly significant because it represents the end of the Starks' dream of an independent North, at least for the time being. The Northern Army is shattered, and the Lannisters, along with their new allies, the Freys and Boltons, secure their dominance over Westeros. The Red Wedding is a clear message from George R.R. Martin. Honor and righteousness are not enough to survive in this world. Robb's ideals ultimately couldn't protect him from the harsh realities of Westeros, where betrayal and treachery often win the day. From a thematic perspective, the Red Wedding serves as a pivotal moment in the series, shattering any hope the audience had for a typical heroic resolution to the Starks' plight. It subverts the traditional fantasy trope where the honorable hero triumphs in the end, making Robb's story a tragedy of epic proportions. Although Robb dies at the Red Wedding, his legacy lives on through his family and the North. The Starks may have been dealt a crushing blow, but the idea of the North's independence doesn't die with Robb. His siblings, particularly Jon Snow and Sansa Stark, continue to fight for their home, and in many ways, they carry forward Robb's mission. In Jon Snow, we see echoes of Robb's leadership, but Jon also learns from Robb's mistakes. He becomes a more pragmatic leader, someone who values honor, but also understands the importance of compromise and alliances. Robb's death becomes a lesson not just for the characters within the show, but for the audience as well. It's a reminder that leadership requires more than just bravery and honor. It also requires a willingness to play the game of politics. The phrase "the North remembers" becomes a rallying cry for the Stark loyalists, symbolizing that despite the tragedies, the spirit of the North remains unbroken. Robb's death, while tragic, fuels the fire of resistance in the North and keeps the Stark cause alive. Robb Stark's journey is one of the most tragic in Game of Thrones. From a promising young leader who inspires loyalty and hope, to a tragic figure undone by love, honor, and betrayal. Robb's story is a reflection of the harsh realities of Westeros. His rise and fall teaches that in a world as brutal as this, even the noblest of characters are not immune to tragedy. In the end, Robb's death marks a turning point, not just in the War of the Five Kings, but in the story of the Starks as a whole. His legacy, however, endures through his siblings and the North's continued fight for independence. Robb Stark may have fallen, but his memory lives on as a symbol of honor, loyalty, and the price of playing the Game of Thrones.